Andrew Dicecco joins us. A special edition of Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Make sure you follow Andrew and his Eagles coverage on Twitter at @Dicecco NFL, and he joins us right now on the Boardwalk kind of hotline on 97.3 ESPN. Andrew, how you doing today?
Josh, I'm doing great, man. Getting ready for the Christmas holiday. Hope you guys are doing well.
Now, before we get to the Christmas holiday, we got to talk about the Eagles because they're going to be playing the Cowboys this weekend. And when you and I talked on Monday, we got a line of the offense. So today we want to touch a little bit more on the defense as we're looking ahead. You know, one of the things from the defense that we saw and I think we're going to have to look forward to this week has been the news that Darius Slay has been cleared of concussion protocol. He's going to practice. So what does getting Darius Slay back in the Eagles lineup mean for them this Sunday?
It means everything for the back end. I mean, you talk about a player of Darius Slay's caliber, you can put him on any top receiver, and he's going to eliminate that side of the field where you can let a guy like a Michael Jacquet, who's stepped up recently. He can be that number 2 corner, and suddenly everybody's playing where their athletic ability and talent level is really best slotted, which is, everybody kind of bumps down a position on the depth chart. And it allows Jim Schwartz to do a little bit more with his defense, be a little bit more flexible with his coverages, maybe do some exotic blitzing. It frees him up to be a little bit more liberal in what he can do.
What was your overall assessment on the defense? Because, look, there were 33 points on the board. One, there was that block punt, though. There was also a safety. They forced 3 turnovers. And knowing that they were so limited, I mean, I see why people would still rip the defense. But at the same time, I thought they did a hell of a job.
Yeah, I saw your tweet, and I was in full agreement with that, man. Considering what they had to work with, they were extremely undermanned, and I thought that they held up well. Look, a guy like Michael Jacquet, did he give up his catches? Sure. But you know what? For the most part, he held his ground. I thought he was physical in coverage. He showed off his length. He had 2 passes defended. He had a sack. He showed he can play a little bit. And nobody really knew much about him going into this game. Then you had the young kids, Marcus Epps. He gets razzed a lot by the fan base, but like it or not, the Eagles are particularly high on him. And he's a sharp-minded football player. He's tough. And he knows where to be, and the only way he's going to get better is by playing. And he played a lot. He played every single defensive snap, all 68 snaps. Kayvon Wallace, everybody's been pounding the table for him to get on the field. He did. And I thought that, and then the defensive line really needed to step up, given the depleted back end, and they did. And I thought that they kind of held it together, given the kind of mash unit that they had to work with.
Now, saying with all that said, what did you take away from what Jim Schwartz did with the defense? Because it seemed like there was about 4 catches. The 2 catches by DeAndre Hopkins. There was the catch by Larry Fitzgerald in the end zone. And then there was the other catch by Dan Arnold, where it just felt like there was no defense for those catches. And it felt like in some ways the Cardinals' offense beat the Eagles' defense, not because the Eagles' defense played bad, but because the Cardinals' offense just happened to have these amazing plays.
Yeah, and those are plays that guys like that only a legendary Larry Fitzgerald or DeAndre Hopkins, who's arguably the top receiver in football. He's certainly up there with Devontae Adams of Green Bay. I mean, these guys are upper echelon players that are going to routinely make those plays. I mean, you look at the touchdown catch that Larry Fitzgerald had. The coverage wasn't bad. I mean, there's just no way to defend that. I mean, that was just a phenomenal play on his end. Like I said, I thought that those guys battled, and a lot of times, young players like that, they need that experience because moving forward, they may be counted on to play a lot. I mean, you look at the cap situation next year, and some of these guys, like a Michael Jacquet, might be having a big role next year. And, they were playing against a really, really solid receiving core. Don't forget Christian Kirk, who's their deep threat. And, I thought for the most part, they gave up some of their catches, but they definitely, going into the game, you heard, Kyler Murray's going to throw for 500 yards. DeAndre Hopkins going to have 200 yards. And you know what? To those guys' credit, they definitely stepped up to the challenge.
Doug Peterson's nickname is December Doug for a reason. So if you go back to 2018, he had a great stretch with Nick Foles at the end of the year. 2019, a great stretch with Carson Wentz. 2020, you're starting to see better football with Jalen Hurts. And I'm not trying to say that, it's only Doug Peterson. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is playing significantly better than Carson Wentz. But how much stock do you put into this team is just accustomed to playing their best football this late.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to Doug Peterson and the fact that he has that locker room. He hasn't lost anyone. Given the kind of peaks and valleys that's come with this season, he's really held it together, and guys play hard for him. And I think once you see one win, like you saw against the Saints, that kind of jumpstart, and they realized, a lot of these veterans are like, hey, you know what? We have talent. There's talent here. Let's see if we can make a run at this thing. It's just the division's still up for grabs. And I think you get a lot of guys that buy in and take that mindset, and they get the new energy from a new quarterback being inserted in there. And if you're the defense, you got to be feeling pretty good about Jalen Hurts, because you know that when they get a stop, oh, hey, our offense has a chance now. We're not going to have to go back out there in 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of just it picks up the whole team, and I think everybody's starting to buy in and see what they have, and that's why you're seeing everyone giving maximum effort. And I think that's kind of been the story with all those every year. It's a break here or there, but it kind of jumpstarts whatever funk they're in. It kind of gets them out of it and gets them headed in the right direction. And I think that's what they have. Listen, they have a shot now. It's an outside shot, but they're in the same position now. And if they keep that momentum going, they're going to sneak in.
Andrew Dicecco joining us here on the Boardwalk on the hotline here on 97.3 ESPN. Content contributor for InsideTheBirds.com. Eagles writer for 97.3 ESPN.com. You can follow him on Twitter at @Dicecco NFL. Want to get your thoughts on Brandon Graham. First Pro Bowl. Jim Schwartz said there were some tears shed during the coaches meeting and has reacted to Brandon Graham getting his first Pro Bowl bid. A big deal for a guy who has arguably been one of the most consistent contributors on the defensive line for the last few years. What does it mean for Brandon Graham to finally get a Pro Bowl selection?
Brandon Graham is such a consistent player, arguably the Eagles' most consistent player this season. You look at where his career the twists and turns of his career. When he first started out, he was viewed as a bust. You got this guy who's short, squatty with short arms. He got hurt. He wasn't really productive. You see Earl Thomas, he went through that thing where he was just that public enemy number one among the fan base. And he played his way out of it. And he became a leader on defense. And he made crucial, franchise-altering plays over his career. And this season, when everything was kind of going awry, he was that glue that held that defense together. He stepped up in that leadership role, and he made at least one or two plays every week that kept the Eagles in those games. And he had the pulse of the locker room, and he never wavered no matter what. And he answered every question. He's a true leader. And I think that when you see the way that his career has went, he's been snubbed every time. He doesn't have those double-digit sack numbers. But if you ask any offensive tackle out there, you hear them on the top 100 players and everything. And he's just a handful to block. He's got that bull rush. He plays with leverage. He has a relentless motor. And, it's just a shame that he never got the recognition that he deserved. But now that's changed. And I think you saw so many different coaches around the league that felt strongly about his ability. And now it's finally come to fruition.
The Eagles activated Deshaun Jackson's 21-day window. And I know some are saying, well, why even put him out there? He's not going to be the future of this team, this and that. Well, guess what? Alshon Jeffrey isn't either. Jason Peters isn't either. And this organization has thrown them in. So I ask you, what should we expect out of this move by the Eagles?
It's kind of, to me, I view it as, what's the point? It's not a given that he'd be ready for this week. You saw that when Zach Ertz was they activated his 21-day practice window. He didn't play the first week back that he was eligible. I think the Eagles would be better off giving a guy like Quez Watkins those reps, getting him. If they enter the playoffs, he might be one of those guys that you have to count on. And I think that he showed something last week, and he added a spark to the offense. And somebody like him, or even a young guy like John Hightower, see if you can get him back active and get some reps for him and with Jalen Hurts. And I don't really see the benefit of bringing Deshaun Jackson back, especially if, depending on how this week goes. But he certainly has that game-breaking speed and ability. But I just think that the Eagles, given their situation and outlook, I think that they need to move forward with the young players.
For more coverage on the Eagles, go follow Andrew on Twitter at Dicecco NFL. Of course, no football for today. We are only on until 3 o'clock. So Andrew was nice enough to join us at an earlier time today. Make sure you follow him. Check out all his Eagles coverage at 97.3 ESPN.com and at InsideTheBirds.com. As all guests, he appeared on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Andrew, appreciate the time and the insights. And if we don't talk to you before then, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, guys. I'll talk to you soon.